You have a manager right now who's trying to have a conversation about CSI scores with someone who can't even show up on time. Think about that. They're trying to coach a green belt conversation with someone who hasn't even passed the white belt test. And they wonder why nothing changes. The problem isn't the accountability conversation. The problem is the order. And today, I'm going to give you a framework that puts every conversation, every accountability you need to have in the right order and sequence. Get this wrong, nothing works. Get this right, and accountability finally starts producing results instead of resentment. 7 minutes, one truth, one execution move. And if you're a leader who's tired of repeating yourself, you're tired of agreement without execution, and you're tired of carrying the emotional weight of everyone else's performance, you're in the right place. I'm Chris Hunsicker, and this is the Dealership War Room. This isn't motivation. This isn't theory. This is a daily leadership briefing for people who actually have to produce results in the arena, at work and at home. You're in the war room now, so let's go. Before I give you the 3 tracks, I need to tell you a story about why your business just might be stuck where it's at. And it starts with the most humbling experience of my professional life. I signed up for a business scaling workshop in Las Vegas. My goal was simple, to figure out how to get my coaching business to $1 million. I'd never done $1 million before. And when I got there, I realized I was the smallest business in the room. Most people were running $5 million operations and they were trying to get to $20 million. A few were going from $100 million to try to get to several hundred million so they could sell to private equity. And there was a small group of us with businesses under $1 million. After the first lunch, the guy running the workshop pulled us aside and he said, "Hey, listen, your business is really too small for this workshop, and we're not going to have small people in there anymore. You can have your money back and go home, or you can stay." I stayed, partly because I paid for the hotel, partly out of pride. The next day, they broke everyone into conference rooms, except us. We cut the lobby. There was like 5 or 6 of us, and they sat us in the corner and sent an expert to rotate through. He'd done his homework. He knew my website, my offer, my numbers, and he looked at me and said, "Chris, can I save us some time?" I go, "Sure." He said, "You're frustrated because you can't get enough new clients. And here's what I want you to hear. You suck at marketing. That's your constraint. But instead of dealing with that, you double down on what you're already good at." Think about that. When we get stuck, we double down on what we're good at. You made better content, better podcasts, better programs. You built this most beautiful project that no one in the world is ever going to see. I wanted to leave, but he was right. And here's the principle. Every time a business hits a plateau, the constraint is always a skill. There's something your business needs right now that you don't yet have. And the natural human response is to double down on what you're already good at. Standards dominant leaders, they respond to a down month by clamping down even harder. Warmth dominant leaders, they respond by buying everybody donuts or lunch. Neither moves the needle. The needle moves when you identify this constraint, the actual skill gap, and then you go to work on it. For most of the managers I coach, the constraint is having the right conversation in the right order. And here's where those 3 tracks come in. Think of it as a belt system: white belt, then yellow belt, then green belt. You have to master each one before the next one has any meaning. So white belt is track 1, what I call adult to adult basics. There are certain things that should never require a conversation more than once. Showing up on time, clocking in and clocking out, wearing the right uniform, following basic safety processes and standards. These are adult behaviors in an adult environment. Here's my premise on track 1. If you have to consistently remind a grown adult to punch in and punch out, to show up in the right clothes, or to follow the most basic non-negotiable protocols, then that person is not functioning as an adult. And I need to say so plainly, without cruelty, without anger, just plainly. The conversation sounds a little bit like this. "Hey, I love having you here, but there's just some things that are not negotiable in an adult work environment. If you're late, you need to call ahead and let us know. That's what adults do. If you forget your uniform, then you're going to have to go home and get it, because that's what adult people do." This is so important. If these things become a pattern, then we're going to write you up. Not because we don't respect you, don't like your work, but because this is an adult environment and these are adult expectations. That's it. Calm, clear, warm. Because you're treating them like an adult capable of understanding a clear expectation. Every minute that you spend reparenting someone who's chosen to be a child is a minute that you don't have to spend developing your high performers. Adult people work in adult environments. Children work in children environments. Track 2 is the yellow belt, toothbrush habits. Do you know the medically correct way to brush your teeth? Small circular motions, 2-minute minimum, twice a day. That's the right way. I brush in frantic back and forth motions for about 45 seconds every single day. My teeth are fine, but I'm not developing some radical new discipline. I'm just doing what I've always done. Track 2 is about recognizing that some of your people have personal patterns, habits, and tendencies. They may be a great worker and a high producer, but that regular trending, it's not because they're failing, it's kind of because of who they are. They just have a way that they show up in the world. The advisor who needs a pep talk before talking to a tough customer. The tech who performs better with a verbal check-in than a written note. The salesperson who needs their year-to-date numbers refreshed every couple of weeks just to stay motivated. These aren't track 1 violations. They don't threaten the basic function of the workplace, but they require something from you as a leader. And here's the key. You have to choose to do it without resentment. The moment that you're doing it resentfully, you're not managing. You're emotionally punishing someone for being who they are. And they can feel it, and it destroys performance. There's certain things you just need to accept. Track 3, green belt, revenue conversations, getting better. This is where the real money lives, where accountability connects directly to revenue and expense. When you're having conversations that show up on your P&L, that change your financial statement, your CSI scores, closing ratios, parts throughput, service absorption, these are the conversations that move the business. But here's the rule, and I would say most managers break this all the time. You can't run effective track 3 conversations until track 1 and track 2 are handled, period. If your team is still wrestling with track 1 issues, you have zero credibility in track 3 conversations. You've shown them implicitly that the basics are negotiable. And if the basics are negotiable, why would anyone believe that you're serious about the advanced stuff? Makes no sense. Track 3 is the green belt, and it requires mastery of white and yellow to unlock the green belt production performance and profitability. Here's today's execution move. I call this the track sort. Take your team, the people who report to you, and sort them, not by performance, by track. Who on your team needs a track 1 conversation? Basic adult expectations that need to be made clear. Who's a track 2? Someone who's solid, but has a tendency that you need to tend to regularly without resentment. And who's a track 3? Someone who's earned the right to have the revenue conversation, the growth conversation, because track 1 and track 2 are handled. Write their names under the right track, because here's the truth. Most managers are having track 3 conversations with track 1 people. And that is why nothing changes. Sort them first, then have the right conversation with the right person at the right level. If you want a community of leaders who are building accountability in the right order and not just having random hard conversations and hoping something sticks, and if you're leading alongside a manager right now who's frustrated because their conversations aren't producing results, please send them this episode. The problem might not be the conversation, it might be the track. Because elite leaders, they don't just have hard conversations. They have the right conversation at the right time in the right order. White belt first, yellow belt second, green belt earned. That's the system. And that's the kind of leader you're becoming. Tomorrow, I'm going to give you the exact script, 4 parts, 1 conversation that changes how your team responds to accountability and how they respond to you from this day going forward. You're going to want to write this one down. So come with a pencil tomorrow. For today, go out, create some leadership fire, and I'll see you tomorrow in the Dealership War Room.